Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. Happy Tuesday. The Tuesday before. We have less than a week for Halloween for all the kids that are excited about that. Good morning. It's been very dreary here in Southern Connecticut, rainy, misty, kind of pulling down my mood for sure. You could see how dark it is. I just didn't feel like putting the light on. So, good morning. I am the Badass Buddha, Lori Monaco, coming to you from Southern Connecticut, and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche.
Thank you. Good morning. But that glow looks very beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it doesn't need a light. Good morning, mi gente. Aquí con la Margarita, your gladiator guru, coming from not so sunny Florida today either. Sort of an overcast. It's kind of cool. We've had like a cold front, but October. Isn't October, like towards the end of the month, always a bit dreary heading into November? I mean, I always remembered Halloween being like so freaking cold because I'm walking around with gloves and a hot cup of coffee while the kids were going door to door. And to me, it was always funny how you spend all this money on these costumes and they had to go trick or treating with the coat over them because it was always cold. So, yeah.
Because you never wanted to put the clothes underneath. Like sometimes that was a suggestion, like your mother or somebody would say, oh, why don't you put a long shirt, clothes underneath and wear it? Nah, I don't want to do it that way. And then you have to put the coat on because you'd get out there and you'd be like, oh my God, it's freezing. And then you'd have to put the coat on. So I don't like when it's really, really cold for them on Halloween. And I don't like when it's raining's the worst. Like when put such a damper on it when it's raining. So hopefully they won't have that.
Hopefully not.
Good morning, Kathy. Nice to see you.
Good morning, Kathy Ruiz.
And Milagros. Good morning.
Hola, Milagritos.
How was the weekend? How was the event?
Oh my God! It was great.
I don't know social media, so
when you have an event, I haven't gotten any of the pictures, and I don't take pictures when I'm. But let me tell you something, Milagros. Really, she was wonderful. Not only did she check people in, she like handled everything. Then she went up there and did the auction and sold every teapot on all the tables, all the centerpieces.
Nice.
That her and Maritza were up at 5:30 in the morning creating with fresh flowers. So yeah, you see a different side of people when you're up close and personal. And this was a very positive side because the Milagros you see on your show is the Milagros you meet in person. So that was yay.
I love it. I love that. Because Milagros is phenomenal, and I love being able to when
she's a joker. Oh my God! Let me tell you something. I did a quick glance at her, and I thought she had one of those Nautica that you find in Macy's. The Nautica robes. They're like white with the blue stripes on it.
Yeah.
And she did not let me let go of that all day, but she did it in a way that it was like poking fun at me, but reminding me like, remember what you said this morning. So it was, and she would always catch me off guard with this. So, that's the type of people you want when you're like frantic, because she'll take you out of that and make you laugh.
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Good morning, Gwen. Gwen changed her. I think you updated your picture, your profile picture on Facebook. So beautiful.
Who?
Gwen did. I noticed that right when we were getting on, when I was getting on to put the show on this morning on the Facebook on my phone, and Gwen popped up. Boom. So I had to give her a heart. I'm like, if I don't do this now, I'll never remember to do it because I just don't go on social media all that much. Plus, I've just God, I have such a love-hate with it sometimes. I'll go in spurts where I'll really be, into it and then liking stuff, and then other times where I just don't. And then I'll do stuff where I'll post things and then I just won't. And I hope to be consistent one day. I don't know what it is about it, but I do love it though. When I do go on it and I see like all the things that people are doing and what they're celebrating and where they're going. And I love it. I mean, I really, really love seeing those pictures and those posts. But to get on it sometimes.
Yeah,
Just
I'm like over it. Like if I have to post, I'll post, and the first whatever screenshots I do. But I'm okay. I'm so okay not being on it now. I know you were on Carmen's TV show. How did that go?
No, it's tonight.
Oh, it's tonight.
Yeah, so
Okay, I
thanks for
thought I
the
missed it
segue.
yesterday because I was at work.
Yeah,
That's
here
how
we
my
go.
days are. Bit
How's that?
yesterday was good. Good.
I'll be on Carmen's show tonight. It is on the following channels. If you're channel 77 and 88 on public access, and then Frontier 60, 70, 10, 60, 17, 60, 18, and 60, 19. You can also watch on. I'll post that in the comments as well. You can just click on that and watch that live. And she also has a YouTube channel as well, so you can watch her live from YouTube. And you can also call in for questions. The show's at 6:30, but they're going to have you call in for questions in the last 10 minutes of the show. So feel free to call in and ask questions. Basically, we're going to be talking about her badass story. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Good.
Yeah. Yep. So you didn't miss it.
All right, good. Because today I'm off. I don't know, mi gente. I don't know about this working shit. No. I was walking through work yesterday dealing with, I'm still in training, but I'm hands-on in training. And there's other, staff. And I'm observing because that's all I can do. I don't input my opinion. If I need to ask questions, they're vital questions like where's the key to this? Who do I call for that? And I'm just observing, and it's like I'm amazed and appalled at the same time that all those horror stories you hear are like happening in real time. As someone's telling the story, it's actually happening. And I'm like, this nursing home care, it's just as shunned as human trafficking and domestic violence at its worst. And so I'm still in training, so I'm gonna finish my training before I make like a total observation. But I walk when I'm in between assisting with an elderly that I must tell you, they all remind me of my mom, right? All the females that I say, God, why you bring me here? Father God, why'd you bring me here? So it's like an ongoing question. And I think that sometimes we need to ask ourselves to why. There must be a reason that of all the places I'm here, and you get a grip. And all that to say, like with social media, we also, not everything is destined or divine intervention. Sometimes we react and we act upon our own instinct, thinking we know best than whatever we're pouring out to the universe or to God. So then question it before you fully commit or before you fully give up. Question it. And that's how we got to live our lives. The past is in the past. You can't go and undo anything that has been done. You can't forget it because it was a life lesson. You got to pull from it what you can in order to complete the Rubik's cube of your life. But it's not like it's so dead that it, one, cannot come back and haunt you, or two, cannot be utilized to advance you. So you gotta, again, it's all a choice, just like God gives us free will. So I say all this because life is so short. We can't go back to yesterday because it doesn't belong to us and it's not here anymore. And we can't become so consumed with anxiety and fear or even excitement about what's to come in the tomorrows. Because then guess what? We're not. Where are we not, badass? We're not here surveying our life in real time and saying, oh, I remembered when this happened. How was it? What was it that got me out of it? Or what was it that I did that altered it for the better? That's how we think about yesterday. Like, oh my God, I remember that. That was the poorest choice I made. And boy, did it hurt my feelings. That. And then tomorrow's like, I would like what I can do today. You can plan into tomorrow, but don't live there. Life is too short. And as you see, I rushed it and I thought the Badass Buddha's interview that I missed it last night because my days are falling into one another. So I'm happy that I get to see her like actually on the show live today. And I'm happy that I'm here with you because that's all I have right now. Let's set the intention.
All right.
Good morning, Pirita.
And good morning to Gina Orea Luparella. Actually, that's Italian, right?
Yeah,
Luparella.
Gina.
We'll just say Luparella.
Aurea Luperella.
Yeah. Good morning. Welcome. Happy to have you here. All right. So yes, we're a little out of it. Both of us are tired. We're we didn't sleep well. So we're not, so we apologize ahead of time for not being so up. So but hopefully the coffee will kick in. We'll have a fabulous conversation. So just bear with us. And good morning, Melissa Hernandez Moran. Good morning. Okay, so let's set our intention. As always, on Viva Cafe con Leche, we set our intention and it's simple. It's so simple. Our intention is to be intentional. And with that,
Grateful.
yes. So set your intention for whatever it is today. You can set it right now. You can set it after the show. You can set it multiple times during the day. You can always reset an intention if you need to. But just always make sure that with that intention, you change your energy by being.
Grateful.
And explain what that is, Gladiator Guru. Like explain what the
You just
gratitude
be
piece
to
means.
be filled with gratitude first thing in the morning is that you were able to open your eyes and then think, oh shit, I gotta get up and brush my teeth and start the day. And that you can actually sit up, get up and walk and do what you have to do. That is the biggest gratitude you can have, is that you can get yourself up and do even though you don't want to, but you must. Like, you must brush your teeth, you must wipe your ass, you must, I mean, just those simple basic
Hopefully.
necessities, but that you yourself can do them. When you go and then you start your day, if you do it with gratitude, guess what? The kindness is always there. You smile at people. You look in the mirror, brushing your hair, brushing your teeth, you're smiling at yourself. That's having gratitude. Gratitude is holding that kindness in your soul and knowing that, you know what, today can bring whatever it is, but me, I'm going to stay centered because I'm grateful. And I think that just experiencing both sides of the fence, to be able to sit up in bed, to be able to stretch and stand up and walk into the bathroom first thing in the morning is the greatest gift you're going to receive that day. So whether you want to go somewhere, whether you're running late, whether you have the day off, be grateful that you can do those basic things, those three basic things. Open your eyes, stretch, and walk your ass to the bathroom. If you do that, guess what? You are living in abundance. Never take for granted those three little things because there's many that cannot do that. You're already ahead of the game with that.
Plus, we're given many gifts during throughout our day, every single day. A lot of times we focus on such big things that we don't really look at the little gifts, like the little things that come to us that really help put us into a direction. And I got to tell you, like, my journey is extremely at this moment very stressful. There's a lot of change happening in my life, and there are moments where I get very freaked out and nervous about it, but I have to stop, and I also have to know that there's been a lot of players in my journey, my current journey, that have allowed me to stay on this path that I'm going into. And some of them have played very small roles, but very significant ones. And I'm so grateful that I want to cry when you're, oh goodness, I'm tired. Um, you don't realize sometimes how many people are there to help you. Even when you think, oh my God, I can't do this by myself, or I don't really want the help, or I don't think I need the help. But then when you do need the help and you're like a little nervous about asking for it, it never hurts to ask. And the universe will provide it if that is what is meant to be. And that has been my gratitude piece for the last, like, especially 4 days. It has been incredible how many things that I've been asking for, asking people to do things for me that they didn't need to do, and they're doing it. And I'm so grateful for it. And it doesn't take away the fear necessarily. But going back to that gratitude piece helps calm that fear down, to say, listen, I must be on the right path, because, like, this is, I asked, I got it, and it's flowing and it's easy. It's not saying that life is never easy, true enough, but it's definitely a lot harder when we resist the path, when we resist what is in front of us, when we resist what the universe and what God is placing in front of us. When we resist it, that's when things do become harder. Things will always be challenging, because you know the God wants us to stay sharp and wants us to stay committed, and continue to learn and grow. So nothing's ever going to be like completely easy, because then we get complacent. But when you're on the right path, it's the challenging things are not that hard to overcome. Um, so yeah, gratitude's been a huge player in my life anyway over the last 6 years. But I have to admit that sometimes I forget, or I'm grateful, but I'm not really, like, I'm just saying, oh, I'm grateful for that. To live a life of gratitude every day, to be able to wake up, or at least sometime during the day, because if you say I'm going to do it every morning when I wake up, and then you don't do it, then you feel bad. Don't worry about it. Just do it anytime during the day, and say, I'm going to sit here for a moment. I'm going to say how grateful I am for everything.
Or thank you, because that's also giving gratitude at the end of the day.
Yes.
Thank yourself for pulling through, for having the force. Every morning I say thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm very grateful to the Lord. And then every night I say thank you for the day and the lessons I've learned through it, whether I had a pissy day, or received bad news, or I had a great day. I'm always grateful for the day that I have. And if I'm not sure, I'm like, all right, what was I supposed to learn from that today? And I write it down. And so you got to see on my desktop, there's like a whole bunch of little papers, because I recently started at the end of the night. Right, a question pops up, I'm writing it so that I don't forget. Because you know what, as a writer, I swear I'm gonna remember. If I'm washing dishes, I have like this idea that was like, ooh, it gave me chills, and I'm like, oh my God, my hands are wet. I'm like, okay, as soon as I'm done, I'm gonna go write. I go to my desk, I'm like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, I do.
It dissipated along with the soap suds. And so I have been training myself to write it down when I get it. So I have like a pad and a pen in the kitchen, one in the living room, one in my library, and then one on my nightstand. Why? Because at this age, I'm learning a little bit about myself. That guess what? I'm not gonna remember walking from the bedroom into the kitchen, what the thought was, because it was fleeting. So I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I'm going to embrace the fact that I have to do it right then, there, and now, like a child who wants your attention. That's my brain. Carmen, good morning.
Good morning, Carmen. Yeah, I do that all the time as well. If I don't write it down, and then I've tested myself, I said to myself, you know what? I don't feel like writing it down. I'm going to check to see if I actually remember it. And of course, I do not. And so, and that has nothing to do with getting old. A lot of times we'll say, oh, I'm getting old, I'm forgetting. No, it's called being an adult and having way too much on your mind, not enough sleep. That's what that is. So, what did Kathy say? She put, my husband was a child domestic. He was raised by a single. His mother often dated violent men. Alcohol abuse was a big factor. Yeah, well, and it's patterns. It's patterns. When it's not shocking that one person keeps attracting the same person. So absolutely. So let's do our mantra, and then we'll talk about empowerment. Today's focus is on domestic violence, and we're going to end our domestic violence awareness month with Thursday with Francia Rodriguez is going to come on, and she's going to talk about how she triumphed and transformed from a domestic violence situation. And so we'll talk about that. But today's going to really be focused a lot on the empowerment piece of your own personal power. And standing up for yourself, helping you and if you're not in that situation, having an awareness of other people so that you can help them, that you can plant seeds and tell them that you're here if you need to speak or whatever, that there's an out, and so on and so forth. What is it that we have learned from our experiences? What is it that we have learned from other people's experiences? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And let me just get going here. So good morning. I love having us pop up stuff like this. Okay. So the mantra, here we go. Say it loud, say it proud. I am a disruptor.
I am a disruptor.
I am unapologetically courageous.
I am unapologetically courageous.
I am spiritually grounded.
I am spiritually grounded.
I am magically orgasmic.
Ole.
And I am beyond authentic.
And I keep it real.
Going back to gratitude, I have to tell you one of the things that I was grateful for. So my daughter, my little one, let's see, Sunday, she had a friend over, and then another friend came over, and she was kind of a little tired. She wasn't her normal self, but she still would go downstairs and play with her friends and go on her gymnastic stuff and flip around. One friend left, and then a half hour later, the other friend left, and we were supposed to meet up with a couple of people I'm a board member for Journal of Hope. So we were supposed to have a board meeting, just to go out and have, and she was going to come with me, and she just didn't look good. And she had told me earlier, Mom, my throat was a little sore, but I had been cleaning, and a lot of dust was moving around where I was cleaning. So I thought maybe that's what, I was cleaning the basement. Sometimes when you breathe in that dust, that bothers your throat. So she did have a little bit of a sore, scratchy throat, but she didn't look good. I'm like, she had that glazed look over. I'm like, let me take her temperature. Sure enough, she had 102.5, right? And I said, oh, okay, guess we're not going. Within 2 hours, it was at 103 it was 103.2. And then by 8 o'clock at night, when she went to bed, it was 104. I was like, oh, great. That's fabulous, So I let her sleep. Of course, she didn't go to school. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to, bring her into the doctor. I usually take care of her myself, but I do like to at least get her diagnosed and checked. And then I usually do my own stuff with her. But so I wake in the morning, she wakes up. Her fever now is at a little over 100. And I don't give her I don't give her a fever reducer unless it's absolutely necessary. I just let it ride itself out because that's what it's for. And by the time we got to the doctor at 10, she had no fever. She had no fever. She was negative for COVID, negative for the flu, negative for strep. And in my head, I'm thinking, I'm grateful that this wasn't something, more serious or something like that, or something that was going to be much longer, that she was going to be sick for a much longer period of time. Like, I was very grateful for that, because we've got a lot going on over the next 2 to 3 weeks. And I really don't need her to miss any more school. And so I was very grateful. Like, it was a nice day having her home yesterday. I got a lot done. She kind of just sat and chilled, and it was nice. So that's, the gratitude piece really helps. It helped me a lot yesterday, because I've been back and forth. My empowerment pieces of my own is just going downhill because I'm getting stressed. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what we've been through. So if you want to include that, for those of you that are in the comments, if you feel like sharing what you've been through, put it in there. Domestic violence, when we think of domestic violence, we think of the physical act of the violence, which is across the board very true for domestic violence. But we also know that domestic violence does include emotional and mental manipulation. It includes control. It includes coercion. It includes financial control. And all of those things, if you have been involved in any of those things where you felt very confined as a result of another individual, sometimes domestic violence isn't like a significant other. It could be a parent. We don't, and we think of it in terms of, we know as the people who've been involved in domestic violence know that there's gray areas. Like, it's not black and white. There's black, there's white, and there's everything in between. And it still can fall under that category. But we know that the law has not fully caught up with that. So for instance, you could have been raised in a household where your parents were very manipulative, and that they were very restrictive on where you went, how you went. You had to be home by a certain time. You had to do work by a certain time. You had to, follow suit with your schoolwork. People think that that's regimented as a parent, but there's a line between regimented, and then there's a line between controlling. And that sets an individual up for certain types of behaviors when they get older. That also sets them up to attract certain types of people in their life. So good morning, Wanda. I'm glad you're here. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the triumphs that you have had. Like I had said before, I've never been physically hit or anything like that. I was choked once. I was pushed numerous times. I was held, pushed up against a wall or held. And I've had plenty of things thrown at me. But I've never physically been hit. I've never had anybody hit my face or anything like that, hit with anything in particular, like by the person. But I've had plenty of mental and emotional abuse. I've had a lot of control and coercion in my life. And it's often masked by your idea that this person cares about you. I always found that very interesting after I got out of it, is that control. In the beginning, I thought that the person just really liked being around me and really wanted me in their life, but it was control. It wasn't, I miss you and I love you. It was, I miss you and I love you, and you are not allowed to go here or there. I'm doing all the talking today.
No. You were sharing something that is, I think first it wasn't recognized at all for many years. Like, what's that? A man has control over everything. And then it was recognized. And then everything else started coming in. So then that became a back burner stuff, but it kept growing in the shadows, correct?
Yes.
And then when people did come up with something, then a lot of us were questioned, second guess, just like a rape victim. So a lot of women that I came across would say, why tell the story? Who's going to believe us? What's going to change? And this was back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Um, and then I really wasn't in the field anymore where I was meeting and speaking with these women from all walks of life. So then a couple of years ago, several years ago, it came back out. So it gained my attention. And I say all this is because sometimes when you say what you said about not everybody is aware of what it is, not everybody's been in a situation across the board of, or never was fully informed of what is financial and emotional domestic violence, right? Because everybody's perception is hit. Well, he don't hit me. Well, I can have whatever I want. I just got to let him know. So I mean, all of that kind of stuff. So a lot of people are not aware of that side of the coin. So when we do shows like this, when we all different women on different platforms talk about this, then you're raising awareness. For some it's too much information to handle. They don't want to know about it because then they have to do something about it. And for many, it's it's a new dawn to a day that's going to change the rest of their lives. Alter, the what is it? What am I looking for? The compass of their lives. So I think we still need to talk about it. We still need to pique that interest of many that maybe won't do anything. They're going to put it in their back pocket today. But as they start observing their partner, they're going to start unfolding the truth. And then you got those that are like, I got to get out of here. I have to do something different. So these platforms, I think for me, are like the just informational, important, life saving, life altering. Um, I know domestic violence as being hitting, making the other person bleed, cutting them, shooting them. So when you go into it and you're like, that's never happened, and then you realize, oh, it's financial abuse. So even if it happened once or twice, three times too much to me. When my ex we used to have arguments, and I would always leave because I can get physical. So twice, once here on vacation in Florida and in Connecticut, I went and I stopped somewhere and I said, let me get a coffee. And he had removed all the cash in my bank cards. That's right, financial abuse, correct?
That is financial abuse.
So
Yes.
when you get it, you're upset. You go home and get into another fight. It happened twice. So I think we just have to be aware of who we are and notice what someone else is doing to us. And don't spend so much time in am I provoking it? Am I doing this? Because everybody's responsible to keep their hands to themselves. That's the highest form of control, I think, in any situation. So you know what? We can work on ourselves, but sometimes we need to work on ourselves when we've removed ourselves from a dangerous atmosphere around dangerous situations, people, places, and things. And then you could work on yourself. You can't work on yourself while you're under that stress, while you're under the umbrella of pain, of discomfort, of not knowing if you belong or not. So a lot of people like learn yourself and then you can get out. I think if you're aware that something's not right and it's blocking you or preventing you or delaying you from getting to the root of your pain, your problem, but being hit is not right. Seek help, remove yourself so that then you can get a better image of who you are, what you want, and how you're going to go about doing it. What do you think about that, Laura?
No, yeah, totally. It's I forgot that the title for today is showing others how to be courageous. The best way to show another person how to be courageous is for you to be courageous. Like, you take the action. Words help, but actions always speak louder than words. When you share your story, but let them see where you are too.
Mm-hmm.
That's why sharing a story is really important. That's why individuals who work with women who have been abused, or even men, they'll share their story to say, this is what happened to me, this is where I was, and this is who I am now. And And then it gives them hope and inspiration to say, I can do this. Or if I can't necessarily follow exactly in your footsteps the way you did it, maybe you can direct me into help somebody else, like, because there's so many ways that women have pulled themselves out of domestic violence situations. Some of them have been at the rock bottom. You know, they were literally extracted by angels, people coming in to grab them in the middle of the night with the kids, grab whatever they can grab and take them out. They were hidden. They were in shelters because they had nothing. Okay. But then there's some that they just finally left. You know, it wasn't as dramatic as you like would see in a scene in a movie, that they were able to get away from them. They didn't have an obsessed partner trying to find them, that the partner was just like, whatever, then go. And they just found somebody else to abuse, you know. There were people that have been financially destitute. There were people that were being being abused, that make money on their own. And so they were able to walk out of that, and they were able to start over with no real challenge. The only thing that was keeping them there was the trauma bond. And there's so many stories, you know. The beauty is that they're stories of triumph and transformation. They're not stories of, we buried her because, like that poem that you read last week. How many times do we make the excuses? How many times, you know, when we're talking about physical violence, there is a timeline. You know, this individual has a greater potential of killing the other individual at some point. Does a person's violence get less over years? You know, I've never really looked into those statistics. It's a possibility that as they age, they get a little bit more tired of it, but you don't want to take that chance. Now, with emotional and mental abuse, that could go on for years. The person could stay married to the individual for decades and never ever leave them until somebody dies of a disease or natural causes or whatever. But that doesn't mean it doesn't take its toll. You know, we look at death as the, you know, wow, that of course it makes sense. But what about, that's mortality? What about morbidity? What about being in these relationships where, even if it is physical, just not so brutally physical, but enough to where it's just sustained as control? What does that do to you mentally and emotionally? That takes its toll on you, and it will actually affect your physical health. It'll affect your whole body. And it's not shocking that individuals get sick. It's not shocking that, you know, all of a sudden the person has cancer and they're really sick and dying. That could have been death caused by the relationship that you're in, you know. I know it sounds really crazy to look at it from that perspective, but we can't deny that's a possibility. So when you're in these situations, you really have to look at it and say, is this worth it? Can I fix this situation? You know, is it fixable? Like the mental and emotional, is it fixable by maybe working with a therapist, you know, with the significant other? Is this something that I need to pull out from? Is this something that is just never going to get better because this individual is not capable of that? But you also have to pay attention to how it's done. You know, Gladiator Guru and I have seen individuals who are controlled and manipulated at such a subtle level. I was one of them for a little bit. Wasn't always subtle, but at such a subtle level that when the individual starts to empower themselves and starts to come into their own, the abuser will see this and change formats a little bit so that that person doesn't discover what's really happening. And then they'll love bomb them. They'll start buying them gifts and giving them things that they want. You know, you cannot, getting gifts does not, it doesn't, what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't give permission to the behaviors. Like, for instance, if a significant other is a compulsive cheater, like they cheat all the time. And if the other person is starting to notice things like something's not right, the other person will probably gaslight that to try to get away from that. But even if they started to empower themselves, oh, I'm losing control over this person. Let me shower this individual with gifts. Let me tell them that they don't need to be, connected to these people anymore because they're not doing anything for you and it's not helpful to you because they're just putting things in your head that and they put this illusion in front of you to distract you further from what they are doing or their behavior. And I've seen that play out so many times. It's played out in my own life, but I've seen it play out in other people's lives because now I'm more aware of it. And is that domestic violence? It's a form of it. It's a form of it. But if a person says, well, but they are living a good life and the person is, okay, blissfully unaware, I mean, again, it's your choice. But the moment that you say, you know what, I don't know, I still feel really restricted, I still feel like I can't do, and you start to question, that's when you really see the person's real intentions come out. And that's when you tend to see them start to get violent, start to get more controlling, more aggressive.
I think, who are we to say what you got to do when you've been in a horrendous act of domestic violence where you feel like there's no outlets?
Right.
All we can do is draw from your inner strength. We are all courageous, and that courage resides within us, and it's up to us to activate it into action. And sometimes we may feel that we're not courageous, but just you living through what you've gone through up thus far, you still have breath within you. You can still form a thought. You are courageous. You didn't surrender. You didn't give up and die. You're still putting up with the mistreatments, whether it's verbal or physical. I'm speaking more physical. You might feel there's no way out. But what I'm saying is, if you don't want to speak to family, because I get it. Let's keep it real. Family can be the most judgmental. Well, who told you to stay with him? Well, I told you he wasn't. And they think they're doing that to be helpful. I have encountered many family members and myself as guilty parties of that. And it's an act of it. It's love. It's like, what you're getting in now after everything you went through. It's that anger and compassion blended in together, where we're like, come here and hug me, and then I'm gonna beat you the hell up for doing that. So it's a tug of war of love and fear that but so happy that you're okay. And it's not an excuse, it's an actual a feeling. I just gotta come up with the name for it. But it's being angry with you for staying. It's being so worried that something happened for you. And then it's so happy that you're finally here saying you want out. So it's those three emotions blended into one. So it's gonna come out like fuck you, hello, welcome, I love you. It's gonna be all of that wrapped up into one. But what I'm saying is, for you to get to that point is for you to make a decision that you want to get to that point. And even if you're crawling, you're running, you're walking, you're skipping, and let somebody know that you're in that situation. Whether it's a neighbor, whether you're writing help signs and putting it out the window, whatever it is you got to do, but get out, seek someone, let somebody know you're there. The first chance you get when no one's home, that you can also leave the home, and just know that you're not at fault. It's not your fault. So you can walk away. There's nothing you have to make amends to for them to stop hurting you. We just need to find a break in the line and use it to our advantage, because you are loved, because you do matter, because you're important for the world. People need to see you. You were born on purpose, and you're leaving a situation with battle scars, but you're leaving it, and then you can push forward and help assist those who can't see what you saw the minute you left, the minute you departed that situation. That's courage. And the courage to get up and know that you're going to be abused that day, that's still courage. But take that courage and put it all inward and says, no mas. And let's figure out a way to get you out, whether you got to call us, call somebody, stop a stranger outside. You know, this takes me back real quick to Ohio when, I don't know the name, when that guy had imprisoned those 3 women in his basement for years, and they were from the same neighborhood.
It's the one that they had. One of them had a kid. He had a kid with one of them, right?
Yeah. And they heard him leaving the house, and she took the chance because she's the one with the child, and he had everything locked, but she somehow got out and was kicking, and she couldn't open one of the doors, but she saw somebody coming by and she started screaming who she was, that the man had her trapped, to please help her, and the man ran on the porch and helped her rip that door down. Remember that story?
Yeah, he gave her, when she had the baby with him, he gave her a little bit more reign to walk around the house. She was the only one. The other 2, I think, were constantly locked up. And yeah, that I mean, that's beyond abuse. That's imprisonment. And but look at how long she stayed until she found the right moment. You know, don't give up is basically what it is don't give up, and then you'll find a point where don't worry about the how, don't worry about what's going to happen after, because that's, I think, where a lot of people get stuck, including myself. When you're just wanting to get out of a certain situation, is you're thinking about, how am I going to do this? How am I going to survive? What's next? What am I going to do? You just have to say, what is it that I want? And why do I want this? I want out of this. This is not okay anymore. Why? Because I don't deserve this. This isn't safe for my children. You know, it always amazed me when you would hear domestic violence situations where the man would be violent to the wife and not touch the children. Like it was, you know, and the fact that
my dad, I lived that.
That's right. Actually, that's right. Yeah. And what are those kids seeing? You know, it's one thing if they're violent to the whole family, but what are those children seeing when they're being violent, you know, when the parent, the one parent, it's not just these days, it's not just men after women. You also see a lot of it the other way around now. We see a lot of women going after the men. And that one is really just ignored because men are supposed to be able to stick up for themselves. Men are supposed to, we've got to stop. Violence is violence, period. Doesn't matter what gender you are and who's doing it. Violence is violence. And parents, we also have to recognize what is okay and what's not, even within our own children. You know, we're raising a society of people with little empathy and lots of entitlement.
And lots of sensitivity. Everybody's fucking offended by you sneezing in their presence. And I don't know how parents are raising these children who grow up into being these big tantrum throwing assholes. Because that's what's happening. That's what you see of. So, and they want, you know what they want to call themselves? Because I met a few, and then I was like, Margie, don't say nothing. Like literally, oh, I'm an empath. You gotta be kidding me. You're an entitled, sensitive ass. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. We have to be very mindful as parents to pay attention to certain behaviors. You know, you hear about those stories when you were, you know, younger. Oh, I used to fight with my siblings all the time, and we used to literally have fist fights. And, you know, there's okay kind of deal, like boys and brothers going after each other. But then there's, like, you have to really be paying attention to it. Where's that coming from? Where's that violence coming from? Don't tell me that when these brothers were like fighting and fist fighting each other when they were younger does not play out some way or another into adulthood. Oh, well, they're good with each other now. Okay, but are they not good with other people though? Like maybe they came to terms with themselves, each other, but maybe that violence came out from somewhere else because it's a behavior. If it's one thing to stick up for yourself, it's one thing to bicker, but you got to pay attention to that. How is your child being around, or your grandchild being around other children? Are they empathetic? Are they dismissive? Are they, and there's nothing wrong with being dismissive sometimes, to stand up for yourself, being assertive, whatever. But these behaviors go into adulthood. And if you see a child that's particularly violent when they're younger, what do you think, what the hell you think is going to happen to them when they get to be older? Where's that outlet going to be?
Yes.
And so Editha brought up something. She wrote that it doesn't have to be a partner. I learned it could be from a child or a grandchild. Yes, you could. Now listen, this is what we tend to think of with domestic violence. We think of partners. We think of parents. How about your adult children, your grandchildren being abusive? Imagine you never having been abused your whole life, and then you get to be 80 years old and you get abused by your child, you get abused by your grandchild. You get right? I mean, this is where we have to also be very vigilant on our own to make sure that we stay steadfast and that we speak up.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could have gone through your whole life, and then you get to a level where you're like really dependent on people, and all of a sudden people are starting to take advantage, and this is where you have to be, okay, you know what? I'm not putting up with this. You don't talk to me like that. You don't treat me like that. And if they're on you and you're afraid, because listen, right now, you and I, Gladiator Guru, could fight. Like if somebody was telling us that they were trying to control us that way, if they were helping us like caregivers, we have the fight in us. But once you get to a certain age, you don't. You can be more easily manipulated. And that's where you have to have enough of your faculties to have certain numbers or people that you can reach out to and say, I'm not feeling safe. This is not okay. Case in point, my mom has all her faculties. My mom is very active for 86 years old.
God bless.
She ended up getting taken by a guy who did her front porch. He's a hack. It wasn't a fraud thing. Like he took her money and never did anything. He just did the crappiest job you would ever imagine. I mean, it's not even up to code. It looks like crap. It's angled. I mean, the whole 9 yards, right? And he's not going to give her money back. So she was down on herself. She's like, oh my God, I'm so much better than this. Like, how did I let this happen? I'm like, it happens sometimes, so now you just have to look at it and say, okay, the next time around, and it has to be because we actually literally have to get the porch knocked down and build another one back up again. So now we're going to be going, like looking for people that I didn't have any part of it. That's the thing. She put it together herself, which is normally fine. But I do assist her, and I feel bad about that piece of it because she said she got it and I just let her do it. And I should have came back behind her and checked the person out, it would have taken no time for me to do that. So lessons learned, but you also as a younger person have to stay, monitoring these individuals as they get older too. So showing others how to be courageous is being courageous yourself, asking the questions, taking the action, speaking to people, helping people, letting people know that you're there, making comments sometimes because they need to hear them. They might not be able to receive them. You know what? That behavior is not okay. Oh, but it's this or this. You can make every excuse in the book. That is not okay behavior. Now that person may shut you off. They may not want to talk to you anymore. We've had that happen. I can name a list of people that Gladiator Guru and I both know where I called out a behavior that wasn't okay, and the people disappeared because they didn't want to hear it. And oh well, you don't want to be made aware that behavior is not okay. I respect you, and I don't close it off. If that person came back to me and said, I need your help because blah, 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 I realize that what you said was true. And I'm not going to sit there and go, I told you so, because that's not my style. I'm going to say, okay, what can we do? Let's get this moving.
Exactly. Now, Iris said so many people, you can't become 80 and be abused. This starts from where they are young and we don't realize it. So many people see it when it happens to another. Yes. And I would have to say, hola, Lidia, that, we are aware, but we choose not to see it. Again, it goes back to the quote, when life acts death, why do people love me and
Wait,
hate you?
listen, what based on this, I don't agree with this. She
That's what
said,
I'm saying. That's what
yeah.
I'm explaining right
Oh,
now.
okay, I'm sorry.
You can't, when the truth is in front of you, a lot of people avoid the truth for two reasons. One may be because it's too painful, or two is they don't really want it. They avoid it because then they got to work at something. They have to admit something to themselves, whether it was something they fell short on and that's why this happened, whether it's just easier to deal with the lie and that's how it is. For the most part, it's easier to deal with the lie being told to you dressed as a truth, but you know it's a lie because it's see-through material, but you just don't want to deal with it. It's easier to go along with the lie, and then it mounts, and year after year it grows in silent. It's a silent rage growing. And then you reach a certain age, and we're talking about, because Iris and you were discussing children, right?
Right.
That domestic violence isn't only a partner; it can also be children and grandchildren. So that lie that you have ignored because you just don't want to deal with your child, so then it grows and it festers, and then you become 80, and then they can't stand you. And then that's where some abuse comes. So it's not that you're ignoring it, or that you don't realize it in other families. It's that you had the opportunity to see it, but you chose not to, and then you went about life hoping it would go away on its own, and it just grew. And then now you're at a point where it's out of your hands because they're an adult now, you're an adult now, and you can't mesh. And you know what? The truth isn't sunshine and rainbows. It's a lot of spikes, there's a lot of potholes, there's a whole bunch of painful, ugly diarrhea truth to that. But you got to deal with it, and you got to get it over with. Whether you're a partner, whether you're a parent, whether you're a child, it doesn't matter where you're at in a scenario. The thing is, if you walk in your truth, no matter how difficult it's going to be, you can prevent things from happening to you. Doesn't mean, as the badass Buddha just said, that it exactly, you called yourself out, not you, but you're calling out what I'm saying. The embarrassment of dealing with the truth, so you ignore it. So it's not that you don't
Yeah.
see it because you're in it, it's you don't want to deal with it because you want to keep everything hush hush. And
Yes.
sometimes
Yes.
the truth is spoken on a loudspeaker.
Right. But that's a little different than what, like, so with regards to, that's true. Everything you both just said is absolutely true. But you can be 80 and be abused by your children and your grandchildren. And here's how. Elderly neglect is abuse. Being argumentative and violent physically to an elder person is abuse. When they might have never been abusive but they could have been resentful, or their life is just not going in the way that they wanted it to. Now here they are, they're stuck with this aging parent who's not in the best physical ability anymore, and they're very unhappy with their life, and they start to take it out on a weak person. This person cannot take care of themselves as much anymore. They're very dependent upon you. And that's what I'm talking about, that sometimes it can switch into that, not to mention there's money at stake. And if that person was connected to money, and they don't necessarily care about the person so much anymore, they're more concerned about the money. So that's what I was talking about too, with regards to that there's that resentment. They want to blame you for their whole entire life when they get older, when they were the one who made bad choices. And then when they get the opportunity to take it out on you because you are dependent upon them, then they do it.
I think that, all in all, we must be aware of our surroundings. In Spanish, Puerto Rican, because that's the in depth that I know. There's a saying, because my father used to say it. It says, when I asked him about when he passed away, he says, "We are born alone and we will die alone." So we have to be very, very particular who we allow in our space in the in between time. And we succumb to people for love or the idea of love. And I'm talking domestic violence within couples. We're blinded by the fact that we're needed, that we need to be loved. And if you speak to many domestic violence things, it's because, well, I loved him and I wanted to make him happy.
What about your
Or
happiness?
he provided what I never had as a child. Again, if there are like outside things, it's understandable. There's
That's the
no
worst.
victim that is to blame, even when you go back until you finally get it. There's no big victim here. We're not blaming any victims. What I'm saying, we must alert our awareness because we are all born with the same gifts, with the same talent of self. So yes, there's many people who have come before us that have lost their lives to domestic violence, that are still currently living in domestic violence, that have a story to tell about their once upon a time in domestic violence. And I applaud all of you for being able to be out of it and discuss the story, or for someone who has passed away, unfortunately, but their families can share their story through them with
Right.
their picture, with the memorial, with setting out there and really making noise. And domestic violence should not be a behind closed doors conversation. It should be an uncomfortable, in your face, and those bullhorns, because it's real and it's affecting. And every day, women are dying.
Yes.
What I'm saying is, within each and every one of us, there is the Almighty God, there is a higher power that has given us the gifts of courage, of strength, of awareness, of that alertness. Like when an animal, let's say the porcupine, the skunk, we are that porcupine and that skunk. We have those quills that'll come out and protect us whenever we feel threatened by a predator. We are that skunk that will spray the shit out of you with funk if you invade our privacy. We are that. So I'm trying to make it as simple in layman's terms as I can of who the hell we are and what we possess to protect us. But you have to activate it. It's not about not trusting everybody around you. It's about giving them an A and allowing them to fuck it up once. Because that's how precious your life is. That's how precious you are. We're not born by accident. We do not meet the people we meet by accident. Everything is a divine plan. So love yourself enough to know that you are not nobody's prey, because we are all aligned with warrior skills and ammunition.
That's
Shake it
right.
up, wake it up, alert it. Live happy, smile, love, but have those perimeters of boundaries that you will not tolerate anyone, no matter how much you love them, no matter how great the sex is, no matter how many kids you have from them, no matter how much money they make. You are worthy in your own right. So and if we are not in that situation, let's wake up that awareness to those who may be and say, you're not stupid because you were abused. I'm happy you're out of it. Let's speak our story. That's
Okay.
what we have to do. For those coming out of domestic violence, Edie, my beautiful cousin, who has grown so much, the way she speaks her story, she needs to be on her own platform because she has a story to tell that many people will not tell today because of the humiliation, the embarrassment, feeling less than because their child has abused them. Speak up. That is how you build awareness in your community, in the tribe that unfortunately you are a part of now because it's abuse, it's parental abuse.
Yeah.
Okay?
And find your tribe, right? If you can't get off, if you feel you can't get out yourself, if you need assistance, ask for it, find it, right? Think about in any great movie when that heroine comes off the ground and then stands up, like the warrior that they are. What about, okay, it's fine when they do it by themselves, but it's even better when, I mean, how does it make you feel when you're watching a show when there's like a kid being picked on by a bully and then somebody jumps out of the crowd and stands between them and the bully and says, you got a problem with this person? You got to get through me first. And what if all of a sudden a whole bunch of people stood up and they made a line to protect that person? That is our right. That is our job, is to get up there and stand in front and protect that person until they become strong. And then they're going to come and fill in the slot of the line and then help block somebody else. That's how we do it. Change starts within us. And then once we change and we understand and we gain that insight, we share it with others, we lock arm in arm, and then we stand up and help the other individuals, period.
Yes.
That's the best way to do it. You are never alone. Never, never alone. No matter what they make you think, no matter what they tell you, no matter how you feel, you are never alone. And it doesn't matter if we're speaking to you and a significant other, or you and your parent, or you and your child that's abusing you. It doesn't matter. It could be a boss that's abusing you. You're not alone. You just have to speak to the right people, find your tribe so you can find your strength, and that you can get your bodyguards to come until you're strong enough to fight back.
Yes. Because you matter. Because from my favorite movie, you is smart, you is kind, you is important. Because you know what? Take a stand. Even what you said, badass, phenomenal. When a kid is being bullied, it's always, you know, that line of people that you don't know that is willing to come and step in for you. So don't ever feel like no one's going to understand you, that no one is going to respect or honor you because you allowed yourself to be in this situation. You know what? Just get rid of those thoughts. If you don't feel like you can go to your family, trust me, there is a tribe. There are people
Family.
who are experiencing what you're
Yeah.
experiencing, or there's people that have lost somebody because they also felt like they couldn't reach out to their family. And had they would have the best support system. And that family is waiting to help someone else.
That's
You
right.
are never alone in this
Nope.
situation.
Nope.
What
Nope.
you are is stuck in your head thinking nobody's going to understand. Get the hell out of your head and start calling and reaching out to people slowly, baby steps, or run with the bulls. It is your
Right.
choice, but go to where you can get the help for you, or if you're reaching out for help for somebody who asked you to get the help for them,
That's
because
right.
we can't be nosy and interrupt someone's life. It's still their right to ask you for help.
Yes.
When you
That's
force it, you're
good
also
point.
abusing them.
Good point. Yes. Yes. Shaming them. About time. Why'd you take so long? Blah, blah, blah. That don't shame the person. They've already been through enough. Don't
Mhm.
And don't allow other people to shame you when they say stuff like that. Call them
You
out
know
on it.
what?
Yeah.
You know
Do I have
what?
a little something right here? Is there something in
Yeah.
my food?
You know what? The other day, somebody says, I think it was Saturday when I was at the event, and I went to have a cigarette, and these people were walking by, and smoking's not good for you. And I said, and I hear not minding your business isn't either. And I didn't care. You know why? Because people think they can say shit like that to you. I don't, you know what? If I'm having a cigarette, the last thing I know is a stranger to come up and tell me something like that, because I'm obviously enjoying my oral fixation. But it doesn't give them the right to tell. I'm a grown ass woman. One. And that right there is still like trying to impose your beliefs on me. So I say that as just being aware that when someone's in a critical situation such as domestic violence, where women are losing their lives daily on, keep your opinions to yourself.
Yes.
Don't share any antidote with, I've been waiting for you, let's get to work, just at their pace. They ask you for help, just be available.
Say, what can I do for you?
Don't make a
How
plan.
can I help you?
How do you want to proceed?
Exactly.
Well, first, I just want to talk. When you wish you just want to put a blanket over them and do that Underground Railroad shit and just haul them through. Just hold yourself back at their pace. Because when you do it at their pace, and then if you do it at their pace to begin with, they're going to start trusting you. Remember, they have trust issues. They once trusted the person who's been abusing them. So don't think it's easy just because you're my best friend. I love you forever. Call me every 5 minutes. Doesn't mean they're going to trust you because their trust has been broken. And that goes across the board. So do as they wish, even though you are like me and you're opinionated or maybe you're a controlling person. You don't matter. You're there to be present in someone's life who has been shattered. So
Beautiful.
hold back at your pace, and then whatever they decide, because as you continue to do that, respecting them where they're at, because that's all we can do is honor somebody where they're at right now. Then the trust starts building between you and that individual, and then they can say, "I can't do it. I don't know. Should I stay or should I go?" That's your door to say, "Let's just go." So be aware, be mindful. And when you set out to help a domestic violence person, I hate the word victim, set out to do it with intentions. And if your intentions are pure, you're going to follow the protocol. And that's all I have.
Wonderful. What a beautiful way to end. All right. So we will have our survivor, Francia Rodriguez, coming Thursday to speak, and we'll end our month of domestic violence awareness. So thank you, everybody, for coming on and hanging out with us and staying long. We appreciate it. So you all have an absolutely beautiful Tuesday and Wednesday, and we'll see you Thursday morning. So from the Badass Buddha, remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
And I want to end with, because I've been kind of heavy. God is good and makes no mistakes, but death always, when it knocks on your door, it always comes with sadness. So to my family, for my cousin Darius Richardson for passing yesterday, if you can all say a little prayer for enlightenment and for comfort for my aunt, that would be beautiful. And from the Gladiator Guru, may you breathe in the beauty and breathe out the bullshit. Namaste.